Health officials now believe they may have traced the source of the deadly Hantavirus outbreak linked to the cruise ship MV Hondius. According to investigators cited by the Associated Press, the virus likely originated during a bird-watching excursion in Argentina, weeks before the ship even set sail. Authorities say a Dutch couple, among the first victims, may have contracted the infection while visiting a landfill site in Ushuaia in mid-March, an area where rodents are known to carry the virus. Hantavirus, as per health officials, is typically transmitted by inhaling particles from infected rodent urine or droppings. But there's a major complication. Officials had previously stated that the region, Tierra del Fuego, had never recorded a case of hantavirus, raising questions about how the virus appeared there in the first place. The couple then boarded the MV Hondius on March 20 for a 35-day expedition. The 70-year-old man began showing symptoms by early April: fever, headaches, abdominal pain, which later escalated into acute respiratory distress. He died on April 11, but his infection was only linked to hantavirus weeks later. In a troubling development, his body remained on board the vessel for nearly 2 weeks. During that time, his wife also fell ill. She later traveled to South Africa with his body and died in a Johannesburg hospital on April 25th. What followed was a chain of infections that alarmed health authorities. At least 8 additional passengers and crew members fell sick in the days that followed, and by May 2nd, a 3rd death was reported on the ship. The situation escalated further when 3 infected passengers from the UK, the Netherlands, and Germany were evacuated from the vessel off Cape Verde. According to the World Health Organization, 2 of them were in serious condition and required urgent medical care. Images from the evacuation show patients in full protective gear being transported under strict precautions. Among those evacuated was also the ship's doctor, who had previously been in serious condition, but is now reported to be improving, as per Spain's health ministry. Despite the spread, officials say those still on board are not showing symptoms, and the overall risk of transmission remains low. The ship is now expected to dock in Tenerife, but that plan has sparked a debate in Spain. Canary Islands President Fernando Clavijo has raised concerns about potential risks to residents, while central government officials have pushed back, calling those fears, quote, irresponsible, end quote, according to El País. As the investigation continues, authorities are still working to confirm how the virus first emerged in a region with no prior cases, and whether this outbreak could have been prevented.
It is a virus. Its main host is in rodents, rats and mice. It's actually a family of viruses, and I think about half a dozen or so have been associated with human infections. Each of those viruses tend to be associated with different rodents. So one I think is associated with the brown rats, and others are associated with different mice species. You acquire the infection typically from breathing in aerosols that are contaminated with rat urine and feces, or rodent urine and feces. And so one of the riskiest things is cleaning out rats' nests from your house. Yeah, that's a well-known risk. It depending on which type of the virus infects you, it generally causes either a pulmonary syndrome, a chest infection, and the mortality rate from that's quite high, up to about 30%, give or take, and a renal hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, which mortality rate's a bit lower, maybe about 10%. It doesn't appear to spread person to person. There have been some suggestions that it might, but Other researchers have cast doubt on that evidence. So it's not clear. If person-to-person spread does happen, it's probably quite uncommon. There's no specific treatment. It's supportive. So if you've got renal failure, it's ensuring you have dialysis, and if you've got pulmonary disease, it's ensuring that you've got your airways protected and you've got artificial breathing and that sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. The World Health Organization has particular responsibilities for cruises between member states. So it produces guidelines and recommendations, and I think it has some. I can't remember the exact details now, but it has some statutory responsibilities that in these areas. So it is, and it's actually, the WHO has actually already submitted a statement, released a statement to say the fact that they're supporting the investigation on the cruise liner. Although I don't know exactly what they mean by that, what the nature of that support is, but yes, they're certainly aware and are responding to it. I think they will be looking at it, yes. And I mean, to be honest, I can't remember hearing about an outbreak of hantavirus on a cruise ship before. It is a worldwide infection. You can pick the infection up in this country. So there have been infections acquired in the UK, but they're pretty uncommon. Estimates are there's about 150,000 infections globally annually from hantavirus. So it's not an incredibly rare. It's an uncommon infection, but it's not an incredibly rare disease. And cruise liners are well known for being associated with outbreaks of infectious disease, but primarily person-to-person disease. So, norovirus, influenza, and COVID were all well-described outbreaks associated with cruise liners. And often with a cruise liner, you tend to have a predominantly elderly population who may be more at risk of severe disease. You have people who may well have pre-existing medical conditions as well, so that when they do get sick, they can become more ill, and you can get more severe, and more higher death rates in that sort of population because of their age and medical vulnerability. Yeah, it doesn't have to be physical contact because this spreads through the air. So you have, as I said, the typical one is clearing out areas where rats have been, and you spend the dried feces and urine into the air, breathe it in, and that's how you get the infection.